I'm about to have another ADHD thought that has to do with social media. But the thing you're talking about, like there's a dichotomy between you're fine, which is like most of the self-help stuff on the internet will be like, you're perfect. You don't have to change.
Yes.
You don't have to text them back or whatever. And on one hand, I'm like, there's like a time in my life where I was like, yes, queen. Right. And then, but I'm like, everyone can't be that. Everyone can't text somebody back. Everyone can't be like, I'm perfect the way that I am. So it's like the two opposites.
Yes.
Crafting yourself into the diamond and then complete being like lethargic, I suppose.
Yeah. There's that dichotomy of like the initial thought being good, but like especially in the social media sense for a lot of people, especially like folks with a proclivity towards narcissism, will take that stuff like you're fine just the way you are and like really run with it. Like, you can't criticize me.
Yeah.
I'm perfect the way I am.
Yeah.
You're the only one that's doing wrong stuff.
Yeah. You're the one that's trying to like cast negativity on me. We don't take that energy.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Right.
Whatever verbiage. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that leads me to the very common thing that you had in your form, which was like, it's uncomfortable to write about yourself because there's that inherent feeling of narcissism.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I always get really uncomfortable when I have to write a bio for myself for any reason, whether it's for some listing page for my business or me personally, or it's, I'm doing a show and they want you to write your own bio for the marketing. I hate doing it.
Yeah.
But there's, narcissism, I feel like, is a really loaded word too. Like, people throw that around.
Yeah, I think that like the longer we go into language, like we use more severe words that are available to us to the point where they become like a little bit numb. So like if narcissism is like the extreme that we're going to use because earlier like saying self-centered didn't sell our point, then it becomes a little convoluted. But narcissism is real. I feel like it's bred into us, and I feel like it has to be part of like your brand. Like the other day I had to write a resume, which is like, I do it like once a year or something, or like a CV, but this was catered towards a specific event. And it was awful. Like your whole 20s are catered towards like figuring out how to talk about yourself in almost ways that like you weren't taught to talk about yourself earlier on. Like I wouldn't come up to you in a bar and be like, yeah, I'm a really great like team player. I'm like fantastic at this. Like you would feel like an asshole.
Right.
But on your resume, you're like, I'm amazing, and you need to hire me. And I just feel like it's not common language. Like it's something that's born from competition in like this modern world or whatever.
Yeah. It's compartmentalized expressions of narcissistic language, I guess. But I think that's the problem I have with it is like, it's almost like a postmodern twisting of the word. Like narcissism used to mean a specific like psychological diagnosis of someone that like really has no capacity for empathy and is just unapologetically focused on themselves. Where I think a lot of people that have like almost like a crippling sort of self-awareness that I think you and I share different versions of, will start to call themselves narcissists as like kind of a whip on the back.
Because you're like afraid of becoming it.
Right. Yeah. Afraid of becoming it, afraid of other people seeing you as a narcissist, because it's a really like gross thing to be labeled. And I think it's a thing that, we just like, we as a whole will just throw that label onto people to disparage them. There's an ironic lack of empathy towards narcissists, like people that genuinely are, or just people that are showing a tinge of narcissistic behavior, as anyone does from time to time.
I think you also get away with more narcissism the further away you are from that person. And like an example of that is like artists, for example. It goes both ways, because I feel like people won't idolize people that they know, but once they were like passed further away from them in time or further relations, then they're free to actually care about this person, because it does take away some of that like narcissism, which is like, this person's my competition. I only want them to rise as high as they don't make me feel bad. And that I feel like is proximity to point in time and person. So there's just like such an interesting attribute about it, because that's narcissism too, is like not loving people around you for fear that they're gonna like succeed more than you.
Oh God, yeah. And
I think it's subconscious. Like it's hard to say that, like people wake up in the morning and they're like, I'm gonna take so and so down, but it's like a passive, I think almost like insecure thing. And I think we've all like seen ourselves doing it. I think being aware of it
I agree with you. I think it's an unconscious symptom of like true narcissism to like secretly hate when people around you are gaining success.
Yeah.
Whether it's someone that you consider a friend or not.
Because you're not hating them and their success, you're hating yourself for not having that success and just taking it out on others.
Right. And it's also a warped idea that their success takes away from your chance to have success. I mean, it honestly could be more the opposite, especially if that's someone close to you.
Yeah.
like being around, having people around you that are successful is good for you.
Yeah.
Not just from direct connection, but just like surrounding yourself with people that are experiencing what it is you're going for, having more people like that around that share this sort of dream.
I think a lot of that has to do with how we, like, as humans, find so much comfort in like the realities that we've digested. And so like sometimes a huge part of that reality I've seen is like other people have best friends, but as soon as that best friend starts to change, it doesn't fit their volume of reality. So like if you were to ask them if they wanted the best thing for that best friend, they would be like, of course, but you might inadvertently be doing things that are keeping that person from their version of success because it doesn't fit the comfort of your reality.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
I hope I said that in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, no, to me it makes me think of a situation where like I mean, let's say let's say you and I have been like longtime friends, and maybe we go way back, like middle school, high
Good
school.
Times.
And then,
Oh yeah, Miss Johnson.
Yeah, Miss Johnson.
Oh.
Yep. And then in college, you know, I'm doing a lot of the same stuff that we've been doing in middle school and high school. It's not going anywhere, and we still get along on those things. But then you also have some things that you're going and doing on your own, and then you make a career out of that, and you kind of explode, and that assumes most of your time, but you're doing really well, and it makes you happy, and it's more fulfilling than anything we ever did together. And I might be so attached to our friendship that I will genuinely be giving you advice, not knowing that I'm doing this in this sort of shitty way, like trying to like steer you out of this external passion, and then even trying to guilt you into like, you're losing me as a friend when you go pursue that.
Yeah.
And that's what you outlined kind of made me think. It's like, it's not like some sort of villainous attempt to hold you back, but it is like accidentally a toxic attachment.
Yeah, I think that's well said, because I really truly think that most humans I've met, like almost all of them, don't have any bad intentions. And I think most humans are constantly working towards making their reality towards, they want to become better. I think most people want that. So I don't think anyone has these vicious things in their frontal lobe, which is like, you know, like we're processing, and so it feels real. I think most of it's subconscious. It's in the background, and it's weighing the levity of like your inner, you know, you're like your shadow self.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, I also think that it gets into the initial thing that I messaged you about, your social media post too. I think a lot of this unintentional, like not being having intentional bad intentions, and that seems like redundant. Over redundant. That's a redundant way of saying it.
Tautology.
Yes. Yeah, this unintentional negative sort of behavior towards people around you. It's a byproduct of chasing like happiness, a byproduct of really chasing specifically like a neurochemical version of happiness, where, you know, if your purpose in life is to just constantly extract happiness, that's where you can build those sort of toxic attachments to things and people, and not have something, a value higher than it, to where like you can voluntarily move through negative emotions like sadness and things, when it is in the greater good, when you take the whole picture into context, like the situation that I lined up for you about us hypothetically being longtime friends. Yep. If I held like meaning higher than that, it would be, I understand him and I have been friends for a long time, but he clearly, if I'm paying attention to him, this is clearly more fulfilling and meaningful to him. And I'm not losing the friendship because he doesn't like me anymore. It's just, we're outgrowing each other. We're just going in different directions. Yeah. I don't have an interest in what he's doing now. Yeah. He's really interested in it. It doesn't make sense for him to force me into that, or for me to force him out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole like step of removal from like understanding the big picture, or enlightenment or whatever you want to call it, because social media and these things, like you've heard of dopamine cleanses,
yes,
but they're very Pavlovian. Like when you're a kid, I touched the stove, it was hot, I don't do that. I did this, it feels good. And like now we're having, it's the simplest thing. Like why would I not pull my phone out and get a little bit of dopamine whenever I'm like sad? And it's passive.
Yeah, I got a huge dopamine rush when my phone just went off to that.
Yeah, I heard that little ding and I got a little bit too.
Yeah,